All right, all right, all right. So I had to come in and do this episode this week because I just became aware of Matthew McConaughey's new weekly newsletter called Lyrics of Livin'. I mean, like most red-blooded American women, I love listening to him talk, but more importantly, I enjoy what he has to say. So once I found out about it, of course, I immediately subscribed, but then I had to wait a week to get my first edition of the newsletter. So in the meantime, I was kind of scrolling around his YouTube channel, which to be honest, I didn't know existed before last week. And I caught this one little short, this little clip, and it was really interesting to me. So I sort of watched a little bit of it, got to the very end and kind of heard, wait a minute, he's talking about something that is so super relevant to my channel and to small business owners in general. So I thought, okay, I didn't really analyze it too much. I just kind of like put a pin in it and said, okay, I'm going to come back to this next week. So that's what we're going to do this week. We're going to watch this video and then I'm going to give my thoughts here. And then from what I remember, there was a really specific concept he was talking about that I really want to break down with you. So I will probably, after we watch this together, kind of turn off the camera, go do a little bit of thinking and marinating on it, and then come back and we'll talk about it deeper. But before we watch this clip from Matthew McConaughey's channel, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and ring that little notification bell so that you never miss a tutorial or upload. Oh, and side note, go subscribe to his channel too, because what he's doing, what he's talking about is such important stuff. And just because he's Hollywood and he's famous doesn't mean he doesn't need your support as a subscriber too. So make sure you do that. Okay, let's give this a watch.
You know, we seem to be quite dependent, almost addicted at times, to dissecting our failures, meaning we screw up. Oh, what did we do wrong? What about our success? A lot of times when we succeed in life, we're like, oh, I don't need to dissect that. That's how it's supposed to be. Dissect your successes. Look back at when you get what you want and you got it the way you wanted to. You'll find traits that you go, oh, I can repeat that. I can scale that into my approach and process of life tomorrow and into the future. Dissect our successes. One, it's a hell of a lot more fun to do than dissecting the failures. And two, we can really learn from it. And society tells us not to dissect successes. Why do we go to a diary? Why do we go to a journey? Usually because we're frustrated and confused and lost. Okay, that's fine. But also write down stuff. Think about stuff when you're rolling, when you're on frequency, when you're catching green lights, because you will get in a rut again and you will fail again. So when that happens, we can look back and go, what was I doing when I was succeeding? And you got a map because you took notes. You find habits that you had that helped you succeed, and you can recalibrate to get back on frequency again by dissecting your successes.
Okay, Matthew just said the magic word. He just said habits. Yes, habits are everything. Okay, so just my kind of initial thoughts with what he said. Number one, I could not agree more. We are so quick to sit down and dissect and ruminate and honestly torture ourselves with our failures. We sit and say, okay, lessons learned. What did I do wrong? And I think, lessons learned can go both ways. And I'm not sure we're always really aware of that, or maybe we just lean a lot. Maybe it's just me. Lean a lot heavier into the, okay, what went really, really poorly that maybe I could do better next time. And I'm not saying that's not important. I don't even think Matthew's saying that's not important, but it's certainly not the most important. I mean, yes, if we notice something that we're doing, a habit that has kind of started to recur in our business that is not serving us, that is causing us to go down the wrong path, whether it's something like paying too much attention to what other people are doing in a way that we let it impact us and change what we're doing things, even though it doesn't feel aligned with us. I mean, he uses the term being on frequency a lot. And I mean, I think that's just kind of a Matthew McConaughey way of saying it's not aligned with your values. I'm assuming that what he means by being on frequency, and I haven't read Green Lights yet, although to be fair, I have already bought it on Audible because I absolutely need to listen to that audiobook. So I'll drop a link below. We can listen to it together. But I think what he's getting at with that is being on frequency is being aligned, feeling like you're clicking, like things are going the way they're meant to. And when we spend so much time focusing on our failures, I think it's really hard to get into that place of alignment. I mean, yes, we're checking off a bunch of things that we shouldn't do, but what about all the things that we should do? And, if you've been around for a while, I just use a word I don't normally use here, and that's the word should. I don't like that word when it's coming at me from other people. Somebody telling me that I should do this or I should do that. But when I'm saying it, if I'm saying, this is what I want to be doing, I love the way he said, getting where you want to go the way you want to get there. That is everything. I mean, we all want to get to a place of success with our business, right? But there are different ways to get there. There are different ways to achieve it. If you haven't gotten there the way that you want to get there, it's not going to feel right. So I love that he's talking about, and he's so right, that we all go to diaries and journals and all of that to get our frustrations out and, to complain, vent, whatever you want to call it. But what about having a success diary or a success journal? I'm kind of loving this idea, actually, not just of dissecting success, which this is what I want to kind of pause the camera and go and kind of think about and come back to you with like maybe a couple of points of what does that look like, dissecting success. So put a pin in that because I'm probably going to come back on that in a minute. But I think the idea of just this free writing success journal could be so impactful. It's similar to having a gratitude journal and talking about the things that we're grateful for. But sometimes the things that we're grateful for aren't things that we can actively do. And if that's the case, then how do you replicate it? How do you get back there when things get off track for some reason? You don't. So while having notations and journals and whatever you want to call it of the things that you don't want to do and things that led you to failure or to the wrong kind of success, I think is very important as a reminder, but it's not a guidebook. It's not a success path, right? A success path would be that journal of us writing about all the things that went right and what were we doing when all of those things went right. Especially in business, when business and clients start just kind of coming out of the woodworks. Like this has been happening for me recently with Trello consulting and things like that. I honestly was not actively pursuing that. It hadn't even really dawned on me that I wanted to do that. I was so focused on the academy, which I still am, but why is it that Trello consulting is kind of growing organically on its own? That idea of, attraction marketing that I didn't even know I was doing while I was so actively and persistently trying to market something else. I need to sit down and take a look at, well, why is that working so naturally? And how do I not only keep that going in that area of my business, but how do I transfer that same level of success into this other area of my business, the academy? So I definitely want to give this more thought. So I'm going to pause you for a minute. I'm going to go and stop and think on this and then come back to you with maybe a couple of steps that I think would be a good way to start dissecting success. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I gave this some thought and I realized I think this is something that I've already been talking about in the academy and here on the channel a little bit. But let's talk about those in context here and see how we can apply that to dissecting success. So I've got some notes down here. If you see me looking down, this is just me kind of remembering so that I don't forget everything that I was thinking about. So the first step obviously has to be to define and analyze, right? In order to be able to say this was a success, we have to define what does success mean to us. And this is something that we've been doing in the Design Your Dream Year course and event in the academy. And success is, there's an overarching commonality between all of us as far as what success means. Typically, it's going to have something to do with the level of income, revenue, right? Being able to support ourselves, being able to have free time to still live our lives and all of that. But everybody's going to have slightly different priorities, not only in what they prioritize more. Do they prioritize that freedom and that balance over the actual amount of income they're getting, or the reverse, or maybe there's something else that takes priority? But knowing what success means to you and being able to clearly define that, not in abstract terms, but in black and white, this is success for me, that is has to be number 1, because how do you know what is a success that needs to be dissected and figure out how you got there if you can't clearly define that you have succeeded, right? So I think that has to be number 1. And then the second part of that would be the analyze, and that would be reflection. So I think absolutely we have to look at the failures and the achievements. I don't know that you can completely dissect success on its own. I think you need to dissect success and failure kind of together, but give success the credit that it's due. Don't focus all of your attention on all the things that you did wrong. Trust me, we will beat ourselves up enough over every tiny little mistake that we perceive just fine on our own without making a point of making it part of our process and our reflection. But sitting down and looking at, even in our path to success, was there an aspect of it that maybe was not the way that we would have liked it to be and we'd like to kind of change it and make it go in a slightly different direction? I think that's important, but making sure that we understand, okay, these are the parts of my process that worked, that helped me get to that success. These parts didn't. Okay, the parts that didn't, we let them go because they're not doing anything for us. We're not going to torture ourselves with them. We're not going to sit and wallow in them. We're just going to let them go, and we're going to move forward with those things that worked. And then I think it's also still important here, we're going to call back to what Mel Robbins told us the other week, which is that comparison can be, she said is, but I'm going to go with can be a teacher, and take some time to look at some other people who have achieved that same definition of success that we have for ourselves, that have gotten there in the same way, or at least we perceive that they have, because obviously we don't know their whole process, but that they have gotten there in the same type of way that we would like to get there. And really look at what they're doing. How much of what they're doing is kind of in parallel with what we're doing? And so that gives us a little affirmation that, hey, I'm on the right track here. And what are they doing that we're not doing? Are the things that they're doing that we're not doing things that feel in frequency or feel aligned with our values? And if so, why not give them a shot? Try adding them into our process. If they don't feel aligned or they feel too personalized to that person, then don't take it on, because we're not here to copy other business owners. We're here to be ourselves. Okay, and then the second part of this would be to break down all that stuff, all that good stuff that we just wrote down and analyzed and defined, and turn it into actionable goals. And this is something that most of us do. We talked about this last week on the channel on Friday when I was talking about goals and KPIs and all of that. If you missed that, I'll post a link above or in the description or everywhere so that you can go and check that out. But I think it's super important now that we've defined what success is, to turn that success into actionable goals, those big G goals that we talk about here a lot, and then take that and break it down even further into little G goals, which is also something that we do in the Academy. We actually did a live event at the beginning of the year, and it's an evergreen course in the Academy to walk you through an exercise to do exactly this. Take this definition of success and turn it into those big G goals, and then break it all the way down into those little habits that we can then track our progress in black and white right in front of us. And then it's important too to get feedback from people. So as you're working on some of this stuff and you're implementing it in your business, maybe reach out to a couple of your trusted clients or customers and see what they have to say. See if they're liking the direction that they see things going in, or if they are, if something's feeling kind of off to them. Their feedback is going to be super helpful, because if you have accidentally tricked yourself into moving in a direction that is not aligned with you, or in frequency, as Matthew would say, then they're probably going to be the first ones that could tell you that. They're going to feel when something that you're doing doesn't feel like you. So take that time, take that opportunity to ask for their feedback and get a feel for, how other people are perceiving what you're doing. And then the third thing I want to talk about is, and this is what Matthew was kind of starting with, is how do you replicate that success if you don't fully understand it, if you don't dissect it? Well, now that we've done that, now that we've defined it and we've analyzed it and we've broken it down into actionable steps and habits that we can build into our business, then the last piece of that is replicate it into another thing. So whether we want to start a whole other business, or we just want to add in a new feature into our business, or maybe we just want to optimize our process so that it takes less of our personal attention for things to be able to run just as smoothly. So this is that opportunity to look at, like, what is the process that I'm doing? What are the tools that I'm using to help me run that process? Is there something I could be doing to run that more efficiently? Is there a tool I need to switch to or let go of because it's honestly getting more in my way than it is helping me? Or maybe I need to reach out to someone. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to work together where you can reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with, the workflow behind my business and keeping things streamlined and optimized. Maybe this is a Trello opportunity." Of course, I think everything is a Trello opportunity, but maybe it is. Maybe this is the time that we can work together and I can help you hone your process into something that is more optimized, more streamlined, so that you can replicate that success more efficiently and honestly just more frequently. So I'm loving this. I have a feeling that we're going to be returning back to Matthew a couple times this year because, especially as I read or listen to Green Lights, I have a feeling that his wisdom is going to pop up. Plus, I'm listening to his weekly newsletter, although I didn't actually get the email that was supposed to come with it. So, Matthew, what gives? I'm going to tag you and maybe your team can take a look and figure out, like, hey, are the emails going out? Because I saw the video on your YouTube channel, but I didn't actually get my email in my inbox and I want that. So we'll definitely be coming back to Matthew and his wisdom again in the future. So I have a couple of questions for you this week. The first one, I'm going to be honest, it's a little selfish because I want some recommendations from you guys. I've been doing my own research and finding quotes, and just from the things that I've been reading and the things that are coming up naturally in my feed, I've been using those as topics here for the podcast. But I know that you guys are out there watching other business owners, other mentors, other experts in this space saying really wise and cool things. And if there's something that I should be aware of or something I should be talking about, or maybe just a particular clip that you think I should watch, let me know, like tag me in it or something so that I can go check it out and maybe we'll include it here in the podcast. But then the second question I have is for you. I want you to really just think about what Matthew said to us today and just be really honest with yourself. Have you been super focused on dissecting your failures, which not only doesn't lead you in any positive direction, but kind of just bogs you down? And is it time for you to learn instead to dissect your success? Let me know in the comments. I hope you liked that video and more importantly, that you found it helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing it with a fellow solopreneur. And make sure you check out the description for links to how we can connect and maybe even work together.